You're listening to Inspired Caring with Michelle Magner, episode number 152. Hello, welcome to Inspired Caring. I'm your host, Michelle Magner. If you are caring for an older family member, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I bring insight, tips, inspiration, and strategies to help you care for the people that you love without losing yourself along the way. Having cared for both of my grandmothers, I've helped manage everything from hospital stays, households full of belongings, to navigating senior living and end-of-life care. And I've worked in senior living as a result of that experience, serving my residents and their families as they've been on this journey too. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Inspired Caring. Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I really do. I'm so excited that spring is here. I cannot wait for the street sweepers to come out and pick up all these rocks off my street, my sidewalk. If you don't live in the Midwest, it's a thing. And I actually don't even know if all cities in the Midwest do this, but because of ice and snow, they come out and spray our streets with rocks. And so that gravel ends up getting tracked into our houses through tires in the garage and shoes. Anyway, I cannot wait for those street sweepers to come out. That's when we know it is official. Quick family update. Where are we? So the girls are coming home from college for Easter weekend. Cannot wait to see them. We get to host, which I'm so excited about. We have 4 giant folding table, not giant, 6-foot folding tables that are going to be spread throughout window to window in our house. And I'm just really looking forward to that. That will be so much fun. Logan is wrapping up his marching season. He was in a winter program and they are going to Ohio next weekend. So that will be just a blast for them. It means a really long, hot bus ride and lots of junk food. And they just have the best time on these band trips. So that'll be fun. And Todd and I are good. We are chugging along, managing the house, taking care of the dogs, just doing our thing. So all is well in the Magner household. Today, I would love to share with you my experience with my mother-in-law around realizing that she did not recognize us anymore. So today we're going to talk about the day that they don't recognize you. And like all things with dementia, there's just nothing that can really prepare you for that. But I thought it could be helpful to hear just from our experience and vantage point how we got to that place. And my mother-in-law, Sherry, had frontotemporal dementia. So different dementias impact the brain in different ways, different timelines. So this is just our experience. Dementia practitioners, we say, if you've show me one person with dementia and I'll show you one person with dementia, because it all just is so different. We're all such individuals. And it wasn't like we just woke up one day and went from 0 to 60, where we showed up and she just had no idea who we were. So just like someone's ability to cook a meal, plan an event, or put on their socks and shoes, there's like these chunks of time that can go on for a while where people have varying abilities. It's like a sliding scale, which can change from day to day or even hour to hour. So what the stages I'm going to go through are not like official, scientific stages. As my family member in stage 1. This is just how I'm categorizing it for our purposes here today. And so you will not be able to say, oh, definitively, my person is in stage 1, and that's where they'll be for 6 months. And then they'll advance to stage 2. Again, it's like this sliding ruler where you're just going back and forth at any given time. There was a mild progression of little things that I did notice. And so I'm going to go through those. So stage 1, she had been diagnosed with dementia, and she was in the mild towards moderate phase of the dementia journey. And one of the first things I noticed was she stopped asking questions about us. So she stopped asking about how was work or how was that trip. At first, if we brought something up, she could recollect the topic or event. Like she knew we had gone to California, or that the kids' show choir competition had gone well last weekend. She knew like that she could track those things, but she couldn't think to produce the idea to ask about it. So she still had an awareness that the activities were still part of our life. And it's really easy to brush this stage off and not give it too much meaning, because we all live such busy lives and there are so many of us in the family. I mean, I can't keep track of every single thing happening, even in my kids' lives, because these are very busy people. But it was clear that it was like a little bit different or more than that. We also have normal aging brain where searching for words happens. So if that's what you're observing, don't freak out about that. Don't give that too much meaning. If there's no dementia diagnosis, like we do word searching, trying to like replace events in our mind, how we recollect things with our memories, that all does shift as we age. The brain is a very complicated organ, and how we remember things is going to be different based on so many components. I will say that as of now, like dementia is not a given as we age. So we have normal aging brain. Like not everybody is going to get dementia as of right now. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. So while you're dialing into this, what I want you to be just paying attention to, does something feel different about how you are interacting with them? And this was actually a pretty hard stage, because when you are in a traditional conversation with someone and they are not asking questions about you or your family or what you've been up to, it's really easy to want to jump to, well, they're just really selfish or they're a narcissist. We put a lot of meaning behind those interactions with people. So if you're finding that you're in this phase where you're doing most of the topic production to discuss, just be a little bit on alert. Have your senses up, not your guard, but your senses. Because usually the meaning that we're putting behind it when someone isn't asking us questions is just not positive. Like I said, we tend to fall into this, well, they're just selfish trap. And I'm not saying that you don't have those people in your life, because there are people, like if our peer group, there are people that just aren't checking in on us or asking us questions or how we're doing. And they only want to talk about themselves. That's like a whole different conversation. But I could tell, I mean, we lived in the same city, we saw them regularly, and I could just, it was like, oh my gosh, she is no longer asking us questions about what's going on. And I do kind of relate this to how I feel about social media and my friends' posts on social media. Like you see something on social that they took a trip, and you interacted with the post on social media, but then the next time you see them in person, you actually don't have the recollection about the trip. And you'll ask, hey, what have you been up to? And they'll say, oh my gosh, I took that big trip. Oh yeah. I'm not able to remember everything that they're doing. But when someone says, oh, I took this big trip, it's like, oh yeah, it does spark the memory that I did see that on Facebook or whatever. So stage 2, especially with Sherry, we were just reporting something to her that just wasn't on her radar at all. So she no longer had recollection that we had taken a trip or remembered the activities that the kids were in. She was very happy to hear our report and could interact with us in the moment on any topic to talk about. But the past and future portions of those events just was no longer relevant or prevalent, if that makes sense. And she did a pretty good job of compensating in this phase for a long time. So like once we got the ball rolling on a topic, she could maybe produce a response that felt appropriate to the situation. But a specific like series of questions or anything around it was increasingly tough for her to come up with. So for example, my husband in February did a polar plunge in Nebraska in the winter. So if we were to have talked to her about that, she would be able to pick up and put together that we felt like this is like an outrageous activity because she's watching our faces and our body language and our tones and our expression. So she wouldn't maybe necessarily be able to ask a lot of questions about the event, the logistics of it, but she would be able to wrinkle her nose, maybe laugh, maybe say, "Ooh, that's cold," maybe. But it felt like that stage 2 phase went on for a really long time where we would have interactions and conversations like that. And she still totally knew who we were at that point. But just the topics of conversation we were on the struggle bus. So stage 3, I would say the next notable phase of this process was when she clearly recognized us, and you could tell by her expression on her face that she knew we were her people, but she didn't immediately remember our names or quite how we fit into her world. Like if you could tell, it felt like she knew who all of us were, but she couldn't quite make the connections of how we all fit together. Like that started to feel like it was fading. Like she knew Roger was her husband and Todd was her son, but I felt like I could tell that she couldn't quite put it together. And she knew I was Michelle, but she couldn't quite put it together that I was married to Todd. And she knew our kids were her grandkids, but maybe she couldn't come up with their names. And there was so much love and happy energy when we would get together and enjoy each other's company and laugh. And she knew that she knew us and she loved us, but it's like you take a puzzle and you separate all the pieces, and she wasn't quite sure how to put them back together. That's how it felt like to me. During this phase of interactions, we could feed her enough information that she could piece us back together. But she couldn't produce the connections, if that makes sense. But you couldn't quite tell if it was clicking in. So one recommendation I have is if you feel like you're in this space, instead, like if you're in a group of people and you're talking, instead of saying him or her, use people's names and gesture to them when you're referring to each other. Or if you're talking about someone that isn't in the room, show them a picture show the person a picture of who you're talking about. Don't be a weirdo, right? Read their energy. So if someone is catching on, well, Todd said, well, Tessa, like if don't annoy someone, don't badger them with the names, but it's just an idea to try on, just to help hotwire some connections there. This phase is going to be kind of frustrating and start to feel really sad and can be hard. I know that if someone is searching for a name in their head or the meaning of something, they can like picture the person who you're talking about. So this phase, it can feel really hard and frustrating and annoying because we're trying to hold on to our relationship with that person. So if you can see that they are searching in their head for a connection of something, you can gently offer it up to them, but you don't want to badger or berate them. And sometimes it just takes us a minute to connect the dots, even if we are not living with dementia. So I offer to just give people, 5 to 7 seconds to make a connection before you're trying to fill in the blanks. There's going to be moments of discomfort in silence and pauses. And our inclination is to want to feed information or speak over people, but just give someone give someone, 5 to 7 seconds to allow them to make those connections before trying to fill in all the blanks. And it's so critically important not to berate someone and press on them for details about something. In both of my buildings, my office was across from seating areas. One was an ice cream parlor and one was a living room. And so I would hear adult children like pressing on their family members to identify, like, what's my name? How old am I? Who is this? Like pointing to a picture. Who is this, Mom? Do you remember them? And so I really think that needs to stop. Like that just needs to stop. Because if someone is struggling to remember something, turning up the heat on them and your tone of voice matters and your body expression and facial expression matters, it's just going to create stress and heartache. And obviously it's from fear and sadness that we want to do this, that we tend to do this. But I just want to support you that it's okay to be uncomfortable if you can tell that it's not quite connecting for them. Like our goal is to be really supportive of the person that we're talking to and to help preserve dignity for that person. And it can be just really hard because sometimes people are having a good day and they are able to make some connections. And then the next day, they're not making those connections. So just to encourage you to have your patience hat on, and this phase can go on for a little while. And to just be kind to yourself and be gentle with yourself as you're stepping into these conversations. Stage 4, the next phase was when we would see her, and she was living in memory care at this point. The most amazing team. Thank you all. We love you so much. We would go to visit and it would spark, like her face would light up. You could tell there was a spark because she recognized us. Even though she didn't know our names or how we fit into her world at this point, there was clearly recognition, and it lasted about 10 seconds. That was it. So you could tell that, again, there was recognition, but it just wasn't lasting. Like we could tell she didn't know exactly who we were, where we came from, why we were there. So maybe we'll call this recognition confusion. And it hurt my heart tremendously. It hurt my heart tremendously because it was clearly evident that dementia had progressed. And the facade that everything was stable or okay, all the compensation techniques we had all adapted of like brushing things off, all of the doubt about what we could and what she could and could not track was gone. And it just felt like a very harsh new reality that things had progressed and we were entering new territory. So we'd show up, she would completely light up, happy face, greet us with a sound, a gesture, and then she would look away, and clearly she was resetting. And like we couldn't get back that initial connection 10 second. What I'm saying is if you leave the room and then tried to come back 2 minutes later, that it may or may not happen. I don't know. And during this phase, we did our best to bring our most positive, happy energy to the interaction because she only had that moment of recognition. But even if you don't know who someone is or how they fit into your world, like, if you want to hang out with them or not, like even in a restaurant, You can look around and look at people's facial expressions and feel their energy and know if that's someone that you would want to have a conversation with. If someone's looking at you and you look confused, upset, or angry or grumpy, yeah, they're not going to want to share space with you. So we would take our 10 seconds of connection, maintain our smile, our happy energy. And she wasn't really able to participate in the conversation at this point. So even as we were sharing things, she wasn't necessarily able to respond in a way that felt connected and meaningful based on what we were talking about. So she was reading our energy. She could tell if something was good or bad based on the tone of voice or facial expression, but it was nearly impossible for her to track the conversation or how anything was connected. So that was hard. That was a really hard chunk of time. And that went on for quite some time. And then one day I showed up to hang out and she looked at me and smiled and looked away. And there was no spark. There was no connection, no spark of recognition. I felt like I was just a smiling, pleasant lady, that I could have been anyone. And all at once, I felt like I was no one. And even with all of my experience and training and how working in a memory care, just nothing could prepare me for that moment. It stopped me in my tracks. It caught me off guard. And it really hurt. And it was really sad. I've heard from so many spouses who are living with their partner who's living with dementia. And they'll say, like, I don't even know if they know who I am anymore. Or sometimes even the person will say, where's my wife? To them. And it's just, you can't anticipate how you're going to feel in that moment. But I wanted to share these stages with you so that you could have an idea of what may or may not be coming. We don't even know. We don't even know if this is going to happen to your loved one. There are just some main things I guess I want you to take away from this. This is a gradual process. So, I mean, I guess while the reality is I did show up and just one day she didn't recognize me, like there were a lot of things that led up to that moment. So just for you to be paying attention, be an observer of your family member and how they're communicating and interacting. And maybe you'll see some recognition in your own situation from what this experience was for us. But it was a slow progression. Another thing that I really want you to understand is that I see you and I feel you, and this is hard. And dementia is a mother trucker. Like, we can't outrun it. We can't outvisit it. I couldn't pre-grieve this moment to protect my heart. There's something physically happening in the brain that is out of our control. Like, we just simply cannot control it. And it doesn't seem to matter if you're living with someone, if you're visiting every day, if you're visiting once a week or once a month. There just seems for so many to come to this point where there's just no recognition of who you are and how you fit into their world. And I don't know if and when this is going to happen. Like I said, for your family member, I just know this is such a big fear that so many of us have. Another big thing is we only have this present moment. I listened to the Chopra meditations in his app, and we have only this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment. Like, the past is gone, the future isn't here. We just have this moment. So really focusing on having quality, meaningful, engaging time together in this moment is what we can control and what is important, because we know things are going to change. This is a disease process. And so as that happens, We know things are going to change, and who they think you are may shift. And spending your time trying to get someone to remember who you are will be so frustrating and upsetting for both of you. So, stepping into the conversations with curiosity and compassion will be of so much more service to you. So, if your dad asks, "Where's my daughter?" Or if your partner asks, "Where's my wife?" just take a deep breath and make eye contact and smile and provide a response that will feel safe to them. Something that will make sense, something that will feel safe. She's at work, she's at school, she's at the mall, she's on the golf course. It's a beautiful day. She's out to lunch with friends. You can ask, tell me about your daughter. What's your wife like? You may hear something that might make you blush. But your goal in those moments, again, is to step into their world and to meet them where they're at and do your best to help to create safety for them. As I said at the beginning, we as dementia professionals say, if you show me one person living with dementia, I'll show you one person living with dementia, which means every human is having a very unique experience. And so this experience that I've shared with you, this is my mother-in-law. She had frontotemporal dementia. I cannot give you timeframes on these stages. I can tell you for Sherry, generally, this was a 2 to 3 year progression from when she stopped asking us questions to when clearly she did not recognize us at all. And part of this, why this hurts so bad, is our identity is very intertwined with our relationships to other people. Like, I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am a friend. And so if those people are not recognizing you as that person, it starts to feel very confusing within ourself. I'm going to do an episode on identity. I think that will be very good, very interesting. So this is really hard, and I love you, and I see you, and you are doing a great job. Just take it one moment at a time, one experience at a time. Being in this present moment is what we have right now. So I'm very grateful to have had this time with you. And if you have any questions about these things, I'm going to put my email in the show notes. I have a new email address, hello@inspiredcaring.com. So I'm going to drop that email into the show notes. So you are welcome to ask me anything you would like, and I will get right back to you. I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.